Well, I sort of first came across CCL when I was Customer Service Director at National Express. I think, as ever, when you start using a new organisation, we did some fairly small pieces of work initially, and then from that did a fairly major piece of work around the contact centre strategy and working that through into some practical programmes. And then I've more recently joined EON as Service Director there, and again have been using CCL to support some of the transformation changes. So really use them in all their guises, both from the strategic sort of development perspective, working through some of the operating models and thinking through, you know, what are we trying to, or what do we need to do to deliver that strategy, and then also just in the sort of blood and guts of actually getting on and delivering the changes that are needed to be made. Developing the strategy for the contact centres, really designing the operating model to deliver that strategy. Key one was obviously getting the business case to justify the investment, and then really some help on some quick fixes to get some progress into the business so people could see the benefits really quickly. I think it gave some real structure and governance around what we needed to do. So there'd been an awful lot of conversations before, but actually we got a very clear timetable, we got the right people engaged, and it brought a focus to the board that I think people around the organisation had struggled with prior to that. It also got written down what we were trying to achieve in a lot of detail that then really acted as a document that we could use as a management team to actually deliver that change that was proposed, and also help us get the financial case to justify the investment. I mean, I think the key thing that CCL brought to the implementation areas was, one, the technical expertise, but that was done in a way, because of the personalities of the people, in a really collaborative way that was non-threatening for the people on the ground, and actually engaged them, and our team learnt a lot from some of that sort of expertise around workforce planning, telephony, and that really, I think, helped embed some of the changes, because the style in which it was done, rather than in a sort of autocratic consultancy type approach. But actually, I think the great thing was we then didn't have to spend days explaining what we were trying to achieve to those technical experts. They'd already been briefed, and you know, again, I think that's quite different from some of the really sort of large scale sort of top end consultancies I've used in the past, that actually you've got some very bright people, but an awful lot of them, but actually you do spend a lot of your time trying to keep them up to speed and engaging them, which, you know, again, we just didn't have those issues when we did that piece of work. I think for me, working with CCL, it's a relatively small organisation compared to some of the big consultancies, but I like that, because it means you know the individuals, you know that it's important that every single one of them does a good job, and that they're judged on that. I think that to me is a real selling point. One of the things I value is this sort of knowledge transfer, because I think you often don't get that with the sort of larger consultancies and the bigger programs, because that's not their sort of raison d'etre really. Whereas I think, you know, the team do pride themselves on that, but it's done in a way that's very practical, and absorbs a lot of the best practice from other organisations. And you know, it may not appear conscious to our people, but you can tell that actually they have absorbed some of that thinking and some of that way of working. So you know, that to me is a key benefit. I think the big benefit of CCL is the calibre of the individuals, and again, I think, you know, because it is small, they're handpicked, they've worked with each other often on different assignments, so actually understand ways of working, and they know their stuff. I mean, that's why I've used them before, and will continue to use them. I think the unique piece around CCL is, one, their independence. You know, there's a lot of consultancies that are part of bigger organisations, and even if they're not trying to sort of sell you the technology or the next big thing, there's always that worry, and it's partly size. You know, it's a medium-sized consultancy, and I think, you know, they're big enough to give certainly large organisations the support that they need, without causing concern around the sort of ability to step up when required. But also you're not dealing with the sort of large scale consultancies where often it is a feeling, I think certainly for the people in the organisation, that it's being done to them. So that to me I think is a really good positioning for the organisation.